you have a question for Kevin, go ahead, use the raise hand tool. If you need access to record, just shoot me a note in the chat window and I can get that for you as well. Brett Friedlander, you're up first. Go ahead.
Hey, Kevin. Somebody asked Coach Forbes just now about, did he miss not wearing a suit at games? You're more of a fashion plate than he is, so I got to ask you the same question. Do you miss getting dressed up to the nines for games, or are you comfortable wearing polos?
Brett is different. You think about all of those years that we've invested in buying suits and now we don't wear them. And I'm not saying that's where we should go back to, but it is a different feeling. It's, you grab, and all of us I've been wearing pullovers. And so really not so much even the polos, but do I miss it? I don't know that. I miss my lucky suit. I've got a suit that I've never lost in before, so I may even put that on.
Thanks.
David Teal, go ahead.
Kevin, I know in season you coaches can't meet as much, but you were part of the basketball subcommittee during the off season, and the ADs continue to meet. Have you thought much about whether it's a good idea to have a traditional conference tournament this year, given the protocols that the NCAA is going to demand from NCAA tournament teams heading to Indianapolis?
David, we talked about so much stuff, and I was honored to have the opportunity just to be on those calls. And we talked about, NCAA tournament, how that should look. We talked about, obviously our own conference tournament. We talked about whether we should possibly have a bubble. And so we talked about a lot of the things. I guess I'll throw it back at you, and I know you were asking the questions, but, what's the alternative? If you don't have it, I will say this, I know we're struggling as a country and a world, but with our guys, I think we feel a little bit more safer because our guys are having the opportunity to play. And so we're getting tested as often as anybody is in the country. And I do think that there's a possibility that we should, if you're not going to have a tournament at the end of the year, it makes it tough because, things are unusual. You don't know how many games you're going to play. You have no idea if you're going to play enough games to qualify for the NCAA or have enough opponents. And for some folks, that may be their opportunity to make it to the tournament by being able to play and obviously trying to win the tournament and get the automatic bid. So I'm a fan of us having the tournament, especially if we can continue to do the right stuff. And, I'm sure the ACC is the best at making sure that we're following protocol. And it'll be weird because there may be a situation where going into the tournament that you may have one or two teams that have to drop out, but that's no different than what's going to happen in the NCAA tournament. So it's a lot of people that make a lot more money at that level to figure that out than we do. But I certainly think that we should have the tournament if it's possible.
James from Inside Pack, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing? I know you guys run a ball screen offense, and really on all levels, pro and college now, it just seems like more teams are going to that versus featuring the big man, that type of a style offensively. Why exactly do you think that is?
Well, there are not many big guys anymore in college basketball. We have one, and probably in our league, which probably, I would say probably 5 of them, and Carolina has at least 3 of those. It just more people. It's positionless basketball. I tell our guys sometimes that somebody has to play the post. Somebody's gonna have to be a post player in the league and get paid, but nobody wants to be a more traditional back to the basket guy. And so even in our situation, we love ball screens, but more than likely we have guys that can pick and pop and we pick and rim run, but it's hard now to find guys who can score with their back to the basket. It's only a few handful of them in the country, Gaza from Iowa being one. And it's tough for these kids because when you look at the draft, even on draft night, they talk about the traditional center not having the ability to get drafted as much. And so I think it's kind of trickled down from the NBA game. When you look at the NBA game, most of those guys who play the center position are really skilled. They can shoot it. They can step out to three, and certainly has entered the college game.
And just to follow up, is that why you've kind of stressed how hard it is to win with freshman guards because of just having to put pressure on them to make those reads?
Yeah, look, for 3 years, I've been very successful because we've been playing against a lot of talented freshman guards, even pros in this league. Now, in my situation this year, I'm counting on 2 guys that are playing at least, anywhere from 17 to, depends on the game, 25 minutes a game. And it's tough because freshmen, and think about it, even this year, it's even tougher this year because we would have had 11 non-conference games. For my guys, we got, 3 non-conference games. And so you just didn't have the time to develop the freshmen as you would like. And so it's tough in this league. And I shouldn't say this league. I need to stop saying that. It's tough in college basketball at the guard position, especially if one of them has to be a point guard to be able to win consistently.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Justin Williams, go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. I want to ask you about the upcoming matchup with Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons got their first ACC win this weekend, and just curious what jumps out to you about that upcoming matchup on Wednesday, based on what you've seen from them.
Well, the biggest thing that jump out is you look at the last 2 games, they have shot the ball very well behind the three-point line. They've had 2 different guys who have, made a bunch of threes. They're playing hard. They're one of the teams. I think somebody gave me a stat. We have had at least 5 to 7 games postponed or canceled because of COVID. Wake doesn't have as many games because of when it hit, but they've had so much time off. And so when you look at them, they're becoming a better team because they finally get a chance to practice a little bit. And, they're tough. They're playing hard. When you look at our league, it's going to be competitive games day in and day out. And then you're going to see the games that may be lopsided. That's weird because every now and then you'll have a few games that'll end up being above 20 or so. But they're a talented team. They're playing hard. They believe in one another. I've been watching tape for the last, 24 to 48 hours. And the biggest thing is they have really shot the basketball behind the three-point line. And that's tough to guard when you're making those shots. And they've been tough shots.
I've got a quick follow-up on that. You're coming off a couple games where Carolina and Florida State were able to shoot the ball pretty effectively against your defense. What have you seen now that you've had some time to watch those games back? What do you guys need to do better to prevent other teams from knocking down shots like that?
Well, I don't think there was anything that we could have done at Florida State. They were great. And, when we lost the Florida State game, everybody's like, well, how could they lose like that? And they've had 2 or 3 games where they've done the same thing to other teams. They right now, in my opinion, they're playing the best basketball in our league at this particular moment. In the Carolina game, I thought the most encouraging thing for us in Carolina was I was able to see Manny Bates and Braxton Beverly get on the floor and contribute. It's tough. We were all for 10 to 12 days in the rhythm. And what happens is when you're off and you can only practice for a certain amount of time, you got to try to figure out what's important is. And, I told someone this morning, we have spent more time on the offensive end trying to be able to score than we have defensively because you got to kind of pick your poison to try to figure out what you can do in a game. And so I think it's we haven't had a lot of time, Justin, to really prepare defensively like we should and spend a little extra time. And, because we've been one of the better teams defending the three-point line in the last few years, and the last couple games we haven't.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Kevin, that's all the time that we have for you today. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
We'll move it along now and bring on Mike Bray from Notre Dame. I think he is on here.
Yep, you hear me?
There he is. All right. If you've got a question for Coach Bray, go ahead, use the raise hand tool, and we will get to as many as we can here.